Where does this leave Manchester United? To be leading 3-0 against the Championship side and to surrender that lead. All right, they've got through, but what damage could that cause Erik ten Hag?
To be honest with you, Dave, I think that, look, we could sit here, we haven't seen the game, we know it's really bad. It must be really, really bad for, obviously, Manchester United to be 3-0 up and then end up in the position where they nearly go out the competition and end up getting through on penalties. All I would say is, all I feel now, my gut feeling and my instinct now is to say those players and that manager have saved themselves one of the most horrific 4 weeks to the end of a season by getting through. Because I know there'll be a lot of fallout tomorrow and the day after, but when the Merseyside derby kicks off on Wednesday night, honestly, it'll be forgotten about and it'll be moved into the background. And what will happen is you'll get to an FA Cup final in a few weeks, and Manchester United do have a chance to win a trophy. Tonight, it'll feel horrific, but if they'd gone out today, it would have been a shocking last 3-4 weeks of the season, and the criticism would have been off the scale. Now, whether it changes the outcome of what would happen with Erik ten Hag and the players at the end of the season is one thing, but what they have saved themselves is an absolute battering for the next 4 or 5 weeks. It may be that they get that for 3 or 4 days, but they won't get it for 4 weeks.
Do you think, Louis, that Erik ten Hag has perhaps, or Manchester United have saved Erik ten Hag by getting through
Definitely.
tonight?
He has been a few games, few goals from McTominay, from like other players. Some performances were really poor, and he's been saved. So there is a bad momentum. There is no that confidence that we have seen like previous years. I don't know. I don't feel as confident, and it's been getting away with murder today. Really, it was like really bad 20 minutes. I was like suffocating. I'm sure that Gary was
watching Liverpool and Fulham,
yeah,
Louis.
no.
How can you comment on these penalties you weren't even watching?
I was watching it. I swear I was like really disturbed because you could see Coventry was on top. And that's really bad from Erik ten Hag point of view. It's really bad.
You have any advice, Jamie? Any suggestions at this stage?
We were watching at the end there, and Mark Robins famously, kept a Manchester United manager in a job. I think that result today has just cost the Manchester United manager his job. I don't see how he stays. I don't. It's just performance after performance, and then that is just like, it's probably. I would imagine that dressing room is probably the most embarrassed dressing room you could probably remember of a team who's won a big game. Can you imagine that dressing room when you win it? Everyone just sat there probably looking at each other. You don't know whether to celebrate. Is it a big thing that you're in a cup final that you've got through? They're probably all just sat there looking at each other.
You can't even
celebrate it.
You haven't seen it?
Good job. Good job. They didn't celebrate.
They didn't celebrate.
You can't.
You can't
celebrate.
You could be happy at least.
No,
like,
would you?
No emotion.
No, I wouldn't.
Obviously that's been up for debate. Who knows if they could win the cup final somehow? But I just don't see anything. And it's different when you talk about a manager in the role we've got than a player, because a player doesn't lose his job. He might lose his place in the team. So you never want to say a manager should be sacked or lose his job, because it's somebody's job. But I just don't see what... If you were at the top of Manchester United, what is it about the situation, watching the team, the manager, his personality, that would be making you think he's going to take us forward next season?
If you think about what INEOS have done since they come in, they've sent us all quite a clear message. They've wiped out the whole top of the club. The whole lot, they've all gone. And they've brought in three new people already. So obviously the manager and the players, that at the end of the season, the decision would always going to be waiting till then. But they've sent a clear message to everybody that they don't like what they see and they didn't like what they found. So the reality of it is, it's going to be an uncertain, turbulent, I think, few months for Manchester United, not just in the sort of playing side, but on the non-playing side as well, because there's going to be so much change there. They obviously don't like it, or else they wouldn't have changed CEO, sporting director, technical director. They just swept everybody out.
Yeah. What about the injuries? Because they had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, that's what the manager said.
Yeah, the manager has come out and say,
But do you think he should be there at the start of next season?
When you look at these performances, like a few of the games, you may say, they need a real reshape. Those three people or whatever like just come in with a different philosophy and maybe bring something else, maybe can benefit from that. I don't see it as clear, but they need changes from the players, but they need changes from him as well.
Just on the injuries, 9 of Manchester United's best players play. they've got injuries in two positions, the centre-back and the left-back. Now, if I look at, say, for instance, I think Rodri's played certain games for Manchester City at centre-back, so Casemiro going in centre-back, it's not an abnormal thing. Kwanzaa's gone back into centre-back for Liverpool today. You know, Manchester United do miss Luke Shaw. There's no doubt they miss Luke Shaw and they miss Martinez, but they've got two players out of their starting 11 missing. Now, that will harm them because it's the left side of the defence, but it shouldn't harm them to the depths and the lows that we're seeing. They shouldn't. It should not take them to that position, the injuries that we've seen, because they're actually in two positions. It's not all over the pitch.
So you're Ten Hag.
My view would be if he won the FA Cup and that he won a trophy last season, to sack a manager who's won two trophies in his first 2 seasons at the club, I think it would be extremely difficult to sack him.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you've just mentioned about INEOS coming in and they've changed things. Yeah. Do you think a group like that base a decision on one game?
I think winning trophies can never, ever be underestimated and misunderstood. If you've got a knack of winning trophies and you just get through things, I don't think you can dismiss that.
Louis van Gaal won the FA Cup.
I know he did, and to be fair, at the time, you know, the style of play, the sort of not qualifying for the Champions League, was ultimately, I think, cost him. And style of play and not qualifying for the Champions League is the biggest questions again. But the idea that Manchester United have made changes consistently, and every manager's failed that's come in, of different sort of qualities and calibre, of Mourinho to Van Gaal to Ole to Rangnick to Moyes, all really good managers in their own way. This manager now is having the same problems, and we're in the same situation. Do INEOS change the manager? There is a good chance they would, because they've changed everything else. They've wiped everything else out at the top of the club. But if he wins a trophy and it's 2 trophies on the bounce, that's tough.